Multiplayer is finally here for Project Zomboid Build 42. After a year since the unstable beta released and endless comments asking for multiplayer, the wait is officially over. Build 42.13 has just released and it is a huge update full of new stuff, balance changes and fixes. Honestly, the sheer amount of quality life changes is incredible, all of which I'll get into after we speak on multiplayer. So I had the pleasure of testing it out and linking up with some fellow YouTubers. And this reminded me of how truly fun it is to play with others. I am not good.
Does your engine keep going?
Yeah. A whole year of solo, and I kind of forgot how good the game is when you're not so alone. This update is going to bring some life back to the game for everybody, whether that's playing with a couple friends on co-op, joining a community server, of which I'd love to start, or watching your favourite YouTubers collaborate. We are of course still in unstable, and the multiplayer build is a work in progress. So to make sure the experience is as smooth as possible, and to simplify the bug tracking, which will be very important, there are a few guidelines to follow before hopping into multiplayer. You should disable debug mode, disable all of your mods, also disable the ragdoll physics. It is recommended to play in co-op or whitelisted servers as the anti-cheat system is temporarily disabled, and it's not recommended to have more than 20 player slots on your dedicated servers for now. If and when you do run into any issues or bugs, you can submit those to the IndieStone forum, which I'll link below. Also, unfortunately, your current saves are not compatible anymore, so they'll probably get messed up. But if you want to give it a go, just make sure to back them up first, as always. I'm super excited with the possibilities this update brings, and if you hit subscribe, you won't miss out on the awesome stuff I have coming. Plus, we need to get that percentage a little higher. But now, onto the update. Yes, multiplayer is the big news, but don't let that overshadow this huge patch. And it kicks off with a note from the modders, providing a guide with information on how to update mods to work with 42.13 and beyond, and how to make them multiplayer compatible. And then it's on to the new stuff. They have added a new trait, motion sensitive. Motion sickness now occurs when moving both forward and backward, with an exponential increase based on speed. Effects are doubled during skids or sharp turns. There is plus 25% sickness progression when off-roading. Motion sickness now affects all vehicle occupants, progressing 50% slower for the driver. The iron gut trait reduces progression by 30%, and weak stomach increases it by 30%. So motion sensitive will get you 4 points. They improved target selection when aiming firearms. The system now prioritizes body parts, making the head the primary target, followed by the spine, pelvis, and then other limbs. Certain clothing and container items can now be equipped while walking, such as hats, gloves, glasses, satchels, backpacks, etc. They added a new body location slot named Satchel. Satchels, water bags, and cowboy canteens now all use the new body location slot. Water bags and cowboy canteens previously used the ammo strap body location, and satchels previously used the back body location. And now, double-clicking on items in your inventory should perform non-destructive actions if appropriate. Double-clicking on bandages now applies them to an injury. If you have multiple injuries, it will prioritize the one inflicting the most damage. Backpacks will be equipped when double-clicked. Double-clicking on literature and maps will start reading them. Lighters and walkie-talkies will be equipped and turned on when double-clicked. And double-clicking on items in the player's inventory that can be activated, such as flashlights, will equip and activate, or unequip and deactivate. They will also state when they're on in their display names. And lastly, double-clicking on boxes, bundles, or cartons will unpack them. Oh, and players will no longer eat food that is double-clicked if the player is aware of them being hazardous to consume. So no accidentally eating poisonous or rotten foods. If you'd like to play with your friends on your very own Project Zomboid server, then you should check out Pine Hosting. They make it super easy for every step, allowing you to get set up within minutes. Their high-performance servers have global locations, DDoS protection, and quality support when you need it. If you have a server with another provider, they will personally help you move over, meaning you can take advantage of the incredibly affordable prices, intuitive console, and workshop installer. Because managing mods can be an absolute pain, but this enables you to quickly download, remove, and organize that long list of essential mods. However, it's not just Project Zomboid. They offer hosting for a wide range of games from Rust to Minecraft, Valheim and more. And to top it all off, you can use code AWP to get 30% off your order. Use the link in the description or pinned comment to help support the channel and get yourself a deal. Huge thanks to Pine Hosting for sponsoring this video. Let's get back on with it. They added items to the Destroy for Fuel and Light Fire context menus. They also changed the loot window Take Same Type text button to an image button and added a second button to transfer matching items to a nearby container. They tidied up the right mouse click context menu. Many options are now moved into submenus and have icons, though it is still a work in progress. Next up is a section on the crafting and building menu, which is mainly quality of life changes. They added more subcategories and recipe groups in the crafting menu. You can now shift and click on an input or output item to quickly search the exact type, and you can now search for fluid. Searching for recipes shows all recipes that have the same characters. They added a keybind that if pressed and the player has a sharpenable item in their primary hand and can sharpen it, the sharpen blade craft recipe will be performed on the sharpenable item. They locked the crafting panel by default so it doesn't go away when you walk, added a show all recipe tick box in the handcraft panel, and they moved plastering, wallpaper and painting options to the build menu, all of which was removed from the right mouse click context menu, and they added new icons to the build menu. Now we have some lighting changes. They disabled individual rooms from being darkened, though entire buildings are still blacked out when cut away from a distance. Barricades, except from metal sheets, and curtains allow some light to pass through them, even when vision is blocked, and they added properties to control light being filtered through closed curtains. Here's a cool one. Worn clean bandage models will dynamically change to the bloody version if the bandage itself becomes bloody. Yeah, I didn't see much of a difference, to be honest. That may be broken. They added quick tips displayed when loading a game. This is going to be very helpful for new players, but you may also learn some things you actually didn't know. Added vehicle physics so trailers twitch less. Emergency vehicles with radio will have automated broadcast channels in presets. The character info window trait tooltips now show the trait description in addition to the name. Backpacks will display their blood level on a scale of 1 to 100 when right-clicking on sinks for the washing option. Added additional logic to the walk to cursor. If an invalid square is selected, not a floor, or is an empty space, it will check for a valid square below up to the Z level limit. This allows traversing downstairs and from higher elevations to lower. Going from lower to higher elevation is not possible yet, but that is very nice. Then we have a section for animations and models, and I've selected a few that may be of interest. Added tying animations for building workstations and items. Adjusted the shove aim animation so screwdriver doesn't intersect with head. Added animation and prop when using a ripple comb. Changed filleting fish animation. Added timed action to kiln recipes as a temporary fix. Added items and models for carved buckets of plaster and wallpaper paste. There's new mixed herb sprites for drying racks and a new animation for taking herbs off of racks. And they changed the protection areas for hooded items. But now we move on to the balance section. Claustrophobic characters now gradually gain panic while inside a vehicle. Smoking now reduces stress for non-smokers too. Smokers get twice the stress relief from them. Big fan of that one. Players will no longer spawn with a pistol, magazines and ammunition. The former scout trait now grants 1 skill level in the fishing skill and has the make fishing rod, fix fishing rod and make chum recipes. Chamomile, honey and mint boost flu recovery when added to a hot beverage. Food sickness now always reduces over time unless corpse sickness is actively accumulating. Dropping a held item or transferring an item from the ground to the player's hands is much faster, which makes sense. They restored lighters having more than 5 uses. Ripping and cutting clothing recipes take 40% of the time they previously did. They also adjusted the crawler animations when attacking the player so they flow better. They rebalanced the yield from cutting up medium and small leather to be consistent with the yield from large leather. The crop farmer and livestock farmer professions have been renamed to farmer and rancher. Added old car parts and normal suspension parts to junk loot tables. These spawn with a randomized condition. And now adding gasoline to a vehicle will take less time than siphoning the same amount of gasoline from a vehicle. They no longer allow cooked food to be cooked again. What, so no double fried chips? restored the possibility of characters spawning with trait or profession related keyrings, and all police vehicles will have a ham radio. Makes sense, they are pigs. Map items will now have the green checkmark item for a player that has red. Walls no longer cut away when player aims and hovers over buildings. They added sparklers to the pools of items that can spawn as clutter for the house party, kids' bedroom and beach party stories, so that they are less bottlenecked as pipe bomb ingredients. They removed crushed copper, crushed iron ore and crushed limestone from the game. And lastly, they updated the loot distribution. Then we move on to the sound effects section, where there are new sound effects for the following: the spear crafting animation, wringing out wet clothes, antique oven, fireplace and barbecue, adding items to a beverage, lighting campfires with notched planks, making cement, the capgun rifle and revolver, and firecracker sound events. Now there is absolutely loads more, including a bunch of fixes. You can pause real quick if you want to see all of those. And also remember, these patch notes are way longer, but I've cut them down to save you all some time. But if you do want to read everything else that I didn't include, as always, the patch notes are linked in the description. And this time round, the fixes list is longer than ever, so let's check some of those out. Emphasis on some. They fixed ragdolls ignoring stomps, fixed infinite maintenance XP using sharpened blade recipe, fixed ripping clean clothing producing dirty rags, and ripping dirty clothing producing clean rags, fixed the toxic effect of generators not being updated for player-made rooms as roofs are added or removed, fixed being able to chop trees with a broken axe, fixed cap guns registering hits and producing bullet impact sounds in some circumstances, fixed many missing textures or models, fixed refueling a vehicle from gas pump not being cancelled by walking or running, fixed jarred produce rotting in 10 days, fixed endurance not recovering while sleeping, fixed lit candles and hurricane lanterns not providing light, fixed character being able to exercise while seated, again, fixed generator noise radius isn't reducing when surrounded by walls, fixed not being able to shoot animals, fixed muzzle flash not appearing every frame, and fixed sheep losing milk on quit/reload. I really cut that list down because it was genuinely huge. And then we have a final section on the tech/code cleanup, but that is honestly beyond me. But anyway, I've tried to cut this video down as short as I can so I'm not wasting your time, and you can go and hop on some Build 42 multiplayer at last. I would honestly love to set up my own server, so if you are interested in that, you can join my Discord, which is in the description. Anyway, that is all for today. If you can leave a like, comment, subscribe, maybe hype the video, that would be amazing. I'll see you in the next one. Go and have fun, and peace.